Nice. Got my notes, camera rolling, audio speeding. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Dwight Brown and we are in 2025. Welcome and congrats. So today I want to talk about my favorite gear of 2024 and also a little bit about what I am looking forward to in terms of gear purchases for the upcoming year. And so let's get right into it. I am a solo videographer, DP. I'm a working DP, and so a quick disclaimer, all of the gear that I'm going to talk about here today was purchased by me with my own money. So I have no biases. I have no no obligation to say anything good or bad about these products. I'm just going to give you my honest opinion. Maybe a little bit of mindset around why I purchased that product instead of another product, and so on and so forth. And so to kind of give you a little more context, for most of 2024, I've been refining my skill sets in two particular areas, and that is audio and lighting, right? So maybe like you, as a new videographer or a new cinematographer, I went out and I bought the cool stuff, right? Your drone, your gimbal, your matte box for your camera, and all that kind of stuff. Now, all those things I use. I haven't bought them and they're sitting on shelves. I've used all of those things. In fact, I have my gimbal on the shelf right there. My drone is right there, but I'm always using these things. So I'm not saying that I regret those purchases. What I am saying is I do slightly regret the order in which I purchased these pieces of equipment. Now, because I am a working DP and this is what I do full time, I have to be mindful and I have to be very strategic with what I purchase, because I'm purchasing all these things from earnings doing these jobs. And these, my jobs are also what's funding my lifestyle, right? I have 2 kids, I have a wife, and I gotta pay the bills. And so I can't just go out and purchase everything, and I also can't purchase the most expensive thing. And so with that in mind, I do have to pay attention to budget-friendly items that work. And so there's, and I know Mike Perez, he's one of my favorite YouTubers right now. He's one of those guys who kind of talks about the balance between quality and budget-friendly. Sorry, I just realized I had this fan on. Turn this off, hopefully. Hopefully, and let me get this AC a little more cool. Or maybe. All right, back to the video. Yeah, so Mike Perez always talks about being budget friendly and quality. And so a lot of the products I've purchased have had that kind of influence, or that has influenced my decision. So give you some context. I'm a Sony shooter. My main camera right now is the FX30, and I'll talk about cameras later on. But to start out, my favorite gear for 2024, the first one is something I'm actually using right now, the DJI Mic 2. By the way, I forgot to add that these might not be things that were released in 2024. That's not what this video is for. It's the things that I purchased in 2024 that I've used and loved. And so DJI Mic 2. Now, where is it? Got it right here. Obviously, I'm using the transmitter, or one of the transmitters, and then the receivers on the camera. This is the case, and then it also comes in this soft bag. Pretty cool. This is kind of the exact same material as the bags that their drones ship in. And along with this, I also purchased the adapter, the mic adapter for Sony cameras. So the transmitter, or the receiver rather, can go straight into the camera without a cable. Obviously, I have the adapter right here. So right now we're using a cable. I love this mic for a couple of reasons. It is very convenient to use. It is a two-person or two transmitter mic, and so I can have two-person mic'd up, and I can have both audios separately, right? Meaning I can record mono and stereo, so meaning I get a separate track for each person, but I can also record internally, which is very exciting. And that internal recording, the recording on the transmitters, are 32-bit float, which are like, I mean, if you know about 32-bit float audio, it's exceptionally hard to ruin the gain levels of that audio, right? So if it's a little too low, you can bring it up without bringing up the noise floor, and it's exceptionally hard to clip the top end, to clip the audio, right? And so for me as a solo operator, I don't have to worry too much about you know, making sure the levels are perfect. I can set it within a reasonable range, and then I can do the rest in post. It also does have a noise canceling feature. I've used that once. I don't normally use it, but I was in a conference, a loud conference, you know, people walking up and down, and there were interviews happening, and so we used the audio, the what's it called, the noise canceling, auto noise canceling, ANC, and it worked well. It sounded great. The audio was a little, I guess the tones were a little off, but it was so slight that it worked out perfectly. So the DJI Mic 2, definitely one of my favorite things that I purchased this year, and recently also purchased the little brother, right? The DJI Mic Mini, which are very similar. I mean, very similar packaging, very similar idea, but the mics are much smaller, and they don't have internal recording. The receiver is also a little smaller, and it doesn't have a screen, doesn't have too many buttons, and so I haven't fully dived into what all the features of this microphone system is. I just know I needed an extra set of two microphones for a production I was doing. It was actually a live stream, and there was moving parts where people were coming off, going on stage, so I needed an extra set of mic. And this came in clutch. It worked like a charm, beautiful sound, no audio issues. I think the battery life just went all day, something like 10 or 12 hours on the mics themselves. And so this is a great piece of kit. If you want a full review on this or a comparison between this and the DJI Mic 2, let me know, and I can do that. So keeping the line of audio, the other thing I got this year was the Zoom F3 field recorder. Right? Now, this is a beautiful piece of engineering. The fact that it's so small and it packs down so small, two XLR inputs, and it has output, line out, and a headphone out. And this also is a 32-bit float recorder. Now, I've used this in a couple of ways. Obviously, shotgun mics, and I also wanted to throw out an honorable mention. Like I mentioned to you, I went, I was focused on improving my audio equipment this year, and so this is my shotgun mic, the Audio Technica 875R. I have two of these now. I actually use one in my office on meetings. If you can see it here, you know, this is number one, and number two stays in my audio bag. Obviously, if I have two-person that I need to have shotgun mics, then I'll pull that one out, and I have two mics. This is great because it has quarter thread here. I can mount it on the camera rig, so audio is feeding straight into this and then line out into the camera. That, for me, removes the need for the audio handle that the FX3 and the FX3 cameras come with. I don't like that handle. It just kind of sucks. but I can still get audio recorded in the camera, straight into the camera from two XLR mics. I can also record internally into the recorder, 32-bit float, and this thing is great. It's powered by batteries as well as USB-C. Typically I'll have the batteries in, but I'm also sending USB-C. So it's gonna take power from the USB-C first. If the USB-C source dies, it just switches to the battery with no interruption. That for me was exceptional. Also, this isn't a new product. I think this is like 3 or 4 years old. And so if you want a review on it, let me know. I'll probably do that for you. So Zoom F3 field recorder and the honorable mention of the Audio Technica shotgun mics, both of which I acquired this year. Another cool way, by the way, that I've used this is in what do you call it? Events, live events. So sometimes I'm required to shoot a live event where I need to record the speaker, like a full recording of their speech, and so I'll just get this plugged into the soundboard. I'll get this plugged into the house audio, usually with an XLR in or a quarter in. I have a bunch of cables that adapt to get the audio into this recorder. But another cool feature is that I can take a line out from here and I can put it in the transmitter, the DJI transmitter, and then wirelessly send audio if I'm at the back of the room and the recorder isn't close enough to the camera. I can send wireless audio using the DJI mics into the camera. That has been a really cool workflow improvement for me. All right, so I think that's it for audio. Yep. Moving over to lighting. Now, you've heard it probably 1,000 times that you can make a bad camera look good with good lighting, but it's harder to make a good camera look good with bad lighting. Obviously, this is, you know, there's room for some flexibility in those rules, but I found personally that if I don't have good quality lights, I struggle with those weird environments, right? So sometimes you're in an environment where there's a beautiful window and you can put the person beside that window, and the lighting doesn't change. It's an overcast day, and so you're getting nice, soft, beautiful light coming from that window, and you don't even need any lights. Great. But what I've found is if you can have as much control over the lighting as you can, then you're in great shape. So for the last couple of years, I've been using Nanlite. I absolutely love Nanlite. I have no issues with them. And so I was using the Nanlite FS150s, which are daylight 150 watt lights. Those are great in most circumstances where I'm not fighting a window, or I'm not fighting outdoor sunlight. Those lights work fine. In some scenarios though, I found 2 issues with those lights, and it's not an issue with the light itself, it's just how it, you know, it's kind of the thing. It's the power, 1, and 2, it's the fact that it's daylight balanced only, and so I can't control the color temperature of the lights. So there are some scenarios where I need to change the color temperature, and obviously you can't do that with a light that's just set to daylight. And so I needed more output, and I needed something that was bicolor. That was my goal. And so I went and I got two lights, the Nanlite 500B, which is one of my favorite things this year for sure. And I've only used it twice, and in both scenarios, it's been perfect. So here it is in this very big case, Nanlite 500B. Let me see if I can open it to show you what it looks like. I'll probably have to remove my coffee. Can you still see me? Yeah. All right, so I'll pop this open, and it comes with, by the way, I'm also monitoring my image right here, and that's something I'll talk about in just a second. But we have the light itself, I still keep it in the case that it came with, because it's just a pretty solid case. So Nanlite 500B bicolor light, and it comes obviously with the reflector and the power supply. I think it's called a ballast. So the only art, here's what I don't like about this ballast, and maybe overall the light itself. It has a mount here, right? It's not V-mount. It's a proprietary mount from Nanlite that you have to buy separately. I think it costs like 40 bucks. I think they should have just included it in the package, right? It does have this little thing that you can use to hang the ballast, and then the ballast also can just sit on the floor, no problem. But the second issue with the ballast is that it doesn't have controls on the ballast, so I can't control the light. When the light's up high, I can reach the ballast, but it doesn't help me because there's no controls. Now, I'm not gonna complain too much, because the price of the light is, I mean, they kept the price low because of those particular things, I'm assuming. There is the more expensive Forza line of lights, which have all those things. They have controls on the ballast, they have color tint adjustments on the ballast, and the light itself overall can do that. But what I needed, the main thing I needed, was something with more output and color adjustment, you know, color temperature adjustment. This fits the bill, does a great job. I have no serious issues with it for what I paid for it. I think I paid $459 plus tax for this light. A crazy deal in my opinion. You can't even come close to touching that with Aperture or Amaran. I think the Amaran 300C is about $450, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. But I mean, and that's also RGB, so that's cool. So the second light I got is kind of the little brother to this. By the way, the correct name for this is the Nanlite FC500B. And I also got, oh shit, did I break something? No, didn't break it. Protect your gear, guys. So Nanlite FC500B. I also got, in combination with this, a 300B, right? This is the FS300B, which is a slightly older body, but it has pretty much the same features as the FC500B. Obviously, it's 300 watts, so it's not as powerful. But this one actually has gotten a lot more use, just because it's just this. I mean, this is the whole light, right? It's the light and then the cable, without a ballast, and I don't always need a 500 watt light, and so I don't always bring the 500 watt light. So 300B, 500B. I also got a mini 660B, which is what is lighting me right now. Really nice, small, compact light. It's usually perfect for like a small studio recording like this, where you have control over all the lighting and you can, you know, adjust all your camera settings to match your lighting. This is perfect. This is set at probably like 40-50%, and I think it's pretty well lit. Getting a nice little fall off, little contrast, all the stuff you cinematographers love. But usually in most cases I'm using it as a backlight, here light type thing. It's great because it has what you call it, V-mount. It can be powered by V-mount, and it can be powered by the little, what do you call these batteries? NPF style batteries. It takes two of them, it can power the light. And even more importantly for me, or I guess maybe an additional feature, is it can also take USB-C power up to 70 or 75%, right? Through USB-C. Now that's great. I absolutely love the fact that I can power that thing off batteries. Now, along with the lighting, I forgot to mention this part. Fresnel lens, right? These are Smallrig Fresnel lenses. So this is something I've used a couple of times, and what's interesting is the use case that I actually purchased it for, I have only used it in that use case once, but I'm just finding it is a pretty cool tool for live events, I also do live streams, like live streaming other people's events, whether it's a conference or a talk or an interview or something like that. Live streaming with multiple cameras. In some cases, the facility doesn't have great lighting, so I bring in my lighting, and I can put this on the 300B and the 500B, depending if I need both. And I can have these at the back of the room, and I can adjust the throw of the light with just this knob, which is pretty cool. And this is made by Smallrig. Pretty cool design, I think. I think they smashed it with this design. Just the fact that you can adjust you don't have to rotate. Most of the other Fresnels, you have to kind of hold the whole body and rotate it. This, you can just turn the knob, and it's doing great, right? So this is the Smallrig RA-F150. It also has a built-in fan, so it has active cooling. The fan is powered by essentially heat. So if it gets hot, the fan chips on. I've never heard it get hot. Using it with a 300B or a 500B, it hasn't gotten hot. So this is pretty cool. Godox has a version of it. I think GVM has a version of it, and Aperture has a version of it. There's probably tons of other brands, but I liked this one. The price is great, and I think just the design of it was pretty cool. It's 10 degrees to 40 degrees, and so perfect for what I need it for. I have two of these now, so that's a cool honorable mention. So next item I purchased this year, which was pretty cool and very I've used it dozens of times, if not hundreds of times. I did mention to you that I do live streams, event live streaming, and in some cases it's not the easiest thing to run as much cables, but that's not usually the main issue. The issue is if I'm required to do 3 or 4 cameras, usually I can get cables from the first 2 camera, wide and tight shot. They also sometimes want an audience cam or a movable cam, right? A handheld camera. Now, using a cable for that camera sucks. And so the next item is the Accsoon transmitters. I don't remember what they're called. Cineview HE, right? So that's this thing here, right? This is the receiver, the transmitter is on the camera. And so what I'm doing is I'm monitoring my image, right? So this has a couple of use cases. Obviously you can do this, monitor your image while you're recording. And so if you see me glancing down right here, it's because I'm checking that whatever I'm trying to show is actually in focus. And this transmitter has just been a really crucial part of the services I offer. I've used it in so many different ways. I've even used it to get like a wireless feed from their laptop. If they're sharing screen, I can pull that wireless feed from their laptop into the stream using like my ATEM Mini Pro. So I can connect the laptop or the iPad to this, and then it sends that signal wirelessly to my board, my switcher, right? So that's one use case. Obviously, the use case of monitoring your image when you're shooting, or sometimes I'm doing a client interview or I'm doing some kind of video work. I have the camera set over here, and I'm trying to adjust something over here without having to walk back and forth between the camera. I can, just walk around with this thing on a handle, and I can check my image. Right now, this is the transmitter. This is a field world monitor, and I just kind of have it rigged so I can put this is actually the stand that comes with the gimbal. I'm gonna buy another one because I just love this setup so much. So I can hold it like this, and then I can also set it down on the table. I do need to get probably a ball head somewhere here. Somewhere here I can get a ball head so I can adjust the angle of that thing. But the Accsoon transmitter has been such a cool part of my workflow. I bought another one that's on its way. I'm probably going to buy 1 or 2 more in the coming year, just because it is such a versatile piece of gear. It transmits 1080p. I mean, I think the range is something like 300 or 400 feet. I've never needed that much range. I love that it can be powered by DC barrel, USB-C, or an NPF battery, and you know, it's just very versatile, very useful thing. Obviously, there's tons of other transmitters out there on the market. There are, you know, Hollyland's one of the major players in the game, and DJI is definitely one of the big players in the game as well as it relates to innovation. Accsoon released a newer version that can transmit 4K and all that fancy stuff, so I love it. It's cool. And so that's it. That's that. The next piece of gear is speakers, right? Bookshelf speakers, I think they're called. This is the Edifier brand. Don't remember the exact model name. I'll put that on the screen somewhere, and I'll show you some B-roll of the speakers. I needed these to monitor my audio when I'm editing. I do edit most of my work, and so having good speakers was essential for me. And also, you know, I do love to jam to some music when I'm working, and so they do pack a punch. I previously had a brand called PreSonus, which those did well. They lasted for 4 or 5 years, but they just started being weird. They have this weird popping sound and hissing sound, and so I figured maybe they did their time. I'll probably take it to an audio person who can potentially salvage it, maybe sell it, I don't know. But the Edifier speakers have been a pretty cool addition to my studio, my work studio. This year, and they kind of match the aesthetic. I'll show you some B-roll. They're over here. Next thing is the Ulanzi Filmog. What do you call it? Fog machine, which is here. I'm going to turn it on. So a fog machine is typically a big, or a hazer, right? A big whole thing with a tank and, you know, power supply, and sometimes you get a remote, sometimes you don't. But this kind of changes the game. And then a lot of filmmakers will be familiar with the what do you call it? The can hazers, right? Now this is pretty cool because it's powered. I have a remote control, and boom, I got fog, I got haze, right? It also has some pretty cool, it came in this pouch. It has this thing that allows you to do a dry ice effect. Let me see if I can show you that real quick. So a dry ice effect is pretty cool because it allows the fog to kind of stay low to the surface. All right, see that? So the fog is like just kind of hanging down there. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, and so this is great for one, adding ambience and adding. I'm trying to remember the term that filmmakers will use. Environment, adding environment to your shot, right? So the haze, I did haze the room a little bit before, but you know, it's kind of faded out. But if you don't know what haze does for films or for interviews, you probably should check that out. But it's a cool way to add some more ambience and sometimes even lift the shadows in your scene. And so this has been a pretty cool thing. It's like $70 if I'm not mistaken, and I bought some film juice for it. The thing you have to bear in mind, it doesn't come with batteries, and it's kind of a specific battery that you gotta use. I previously thought it was these batteries, which it technically is, the 9900 milliamp batteries. There is, oh, I think it's TR 18650 batteries. That's these. I'll typically use these in my flashlight, but it doesn't quite work because the little tip of the battery doesn't allow the door to close. So you have to get the ones that don't have the tips. I don't know if I'm making sense, but just do a little bit of research before you buy it, because you will have to buy a specific set of batteries to get that to work. I've never ran out of battery on it. I have hardly used it so far, but so far I like it. Major con with it is it doesn't seem to like to be pushed too long. I think that's probably the case for most hazers, especially at this budget. I'm not complaining about it. Has USB-C to take charge, and it does the job fine. So that's one of my favorite purchases this year. All right, next thing is the Dewalt bag. I think I dropped something. So, Dewalt bag, if you can see me, yeah. This is my new camera bag, all right? Now, it is obviously technically not a camera bag, but I saw Justin Porter Media. Justin Porter from Justin Porter Media. I saw him. I don't know if you hear my kid crying, but don't worry, my wife's dealing with it. All right. So don't go calling the police. She's fine. No, I'm shooting.
You what?
I'm shooting. Yeah. So what can I say? I'm shooting at home. My kids are at home. My wife's at home. So sorry for the interruption. Anyways, Dewalt bag from Justin. I mean, it's not from Justin Porter, but Justin Porter. I saw a reel where he was saying, "Hey, this is like the best thing to use for a camera bag on a budget," and I took him up on it. I got this bag, so now I can get my camera in this bag, fully rigged, and it's well protected. It's a pretty tough bag. It can take a beating. This has been through airport. It has been through the hands of TSA, and it has held up really well. No damages to my gear, and so it's a Dewalt Tough System 2.0 tool bag. It has tons of compartments. It does also have this zip lock here, so you can lock this front compartment. My only kind of gripe is, like, I wish they had put it on these zippers as well, so I could lock the main compartment that the camera goes into, right? No big deal. I can still get a lock on it, so I'm not too worried about it. Would I recommend this? I absolutely would. I love it. For a camera bag, or even a bag to carry your lights, it's pretty solid. I'm most likely gonna get a second one to carry lights as well. So that's been a pretty cool addition. So shout out to Justin Porter. You'll probably never see this video, I don't know, but if you do, great recommendation. Now, I guess the final piece of gear that I want to talk about is actually not a piece of gear. Technically, it is something else you use to carry a gear, right? So this is the Nanlite 935, I think. Yep, there you go. Nanlite 935. Obviously, I got some stickers going on there. Hide my face. There you go. So pretty cool piece of gear. What I love most about it is the handle system. This carry-on, it's carry-on size for most planes. The handle has 2 stages, right? So that's cool, and it's solid. Like the carrying handle also, it stays locked in, so it's not like rattling around. And then the locking system, like you can't, I've given a couple people this and say, hey, just pull it, open it. And they're like, you know, trying to fiddle around, and it's kind of like so it's a two-step locking mechanism. You pull this gray part down and it pops. Even when it opens, the latch doesn't fly. You still have to kind of pull back the latch. I don't know if you can see that very well, but anyways, that's a locking mechanism. And then it also has the two little holes right here that you can put a TSA lock on. You can even change these latches to have the TSA lock or TSA approved locking mechanism with a key and all that kind of stuff. So this has been a pretty cool case for me. I do a little bit of work, a little bit of traveling work, and so I'm pretty excited about the build quality of this case, and I'm considering getting a bigger version of it to kind of replace some of my other bags for carrying lighting equipment and light stands and so on. There's one model in particular that I would like to get. Sorry about that. One model in particular I'd like to get, but the case itself is available on the site, but they don't have the version with the padded dividers. But you can buy the padded dividers separately. So that for me is like a very weird thing. Like you have the padded dividers, but you're out of stock for the case that has the padded dividers, and that's on the Nanlite website. So my idea is I'm probably gonna reach out to customer service, see if I can somehow get a discount if I purchase both, because purchasing them separately is kind of a pretty higher of a price. But that's something I'm planning to get. So that kind of takes me into what am I excited about getting in 2025. And firstly, my first piece of gear that I am saving up for this is Sony FX3. So currently my main camera is FX30. I've rented the FX3 for any job that requires it, but I have been in so many situations where the low light performance of the FX30 has kind of been a little bit of a hamper for me. So that extra 12,800 high base ISO off the FX3 is really tempting. And so I know there's other cameras that have that. There's the A7S III and the FX6. And so I do need one of those cameras. And so I am planning for 2025 to purchase the FX3 and use it as my A cam with the FX30 as my B cam, and later on selling the FX30 and acquiring the FX6. So FX6 then becomes A cam and FX3 becomes B cam. So that's one of the things I'm definitely excited about acquiring this year. I also broke my zoom lens, my main zoom lens, the 24-70. It was an f4 older Zeiss lens. I can't say I broke it, but it crapped out on me. So I am now in the market for another zoom lens in that same focal length range. I am considering the Tamron 28-75 or the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. Both are f2.8. Tamron, obviously, price is a little more appealing for like almost the same quality. I've watched so many reviews where I can't necessarily tell a huge difference. Next piece of thing I am planning to get is Nanlite 300C, right? So I have the 300B, I have the 500B, 60B, but I am lacking RGB light in my kit. The 300C is about the same price as the Amaran 300C, and I'm already in the Nanlite ecosystem, and so most likely I'm going to go with the 300C. It's about $450, $460 for that light, and I mean, how much different is it from Amaran? Almost nothing. So that's my next light. And then this has been something I've been meaning to do and planning to do. I just haven't done it. and I need a storage system, a NAS storage system. And so most likely I'm gonna get like a Synology 4-bay 4-bay NAS. I'm not like sold to any particular brand, but the Synology seems to be a good price per quality ratio. There's also QNAP that I'm looking at, and then Ugreen is also in the game, and there's tons of other brands out there. But I am planning to get a NAS system for my archives, storing storing footage, because I'm now in a situation where I'm deleting footage for clients that I've already delivered to stuff. I'm also sending them like a cloud link to download the raw files. Some of the times these are like 300, 400 gigabyte files per project. And so I have clients, I have had clients who've reached out to me and say, hey, we lost this footage, or we can't find this particular clip. Is there any way you can resend it? And if it's past like 3 or 4 months, I've already deleted those files because I don't have the space. And so I do want to offer that additional add-on to clients. And then I also want to have those footage for potentially adding to portfolios later on. And so I've been definitely considering getting a NAS storage system, somewhere in the 12 terabyte to maybe 24 terabyte. So those have been some of my recent acquisitions. I've purchased a couple of other things throughout the year, obviously accessories and bits and pieces that go into making your workflow pretty amazing, or making your workflow more efficient. Gosh, what's wrong with me and my words today? But yeah, so making my workflow more efficient, and because that's basically that's what it's about, right? You want your tools to help you do your job, and you don't want to be held back by your tools. And so sometimes it's a little adapter that makes things better. Like I mentioned, the DJI Mic adapter. So it's one less cable that you have to think about, and then the audio goes straight into your camera. And sometimes it's a wireless transmitter that makes your workflow a little easier. And sometimes it's just something that helps to add a creative touch to your workflow, like colored lights or fog machines. Are they super necessary? No. And so I personally have kind of been, I'm very strategic with my purchases, because I don't want to fall prey to gear acquisition syndrome. And I also don't want to be having my tools hold me back, having my gear holding me back. I'm also always looking for a way to kind of condense or make my prep process a little more efficient. And so having organizers and storage solutions are very important to me. And I also don't have unlimited space to house gear. All my gear is housed at my house. And so I don't want to be worrying about traveling with my gear. Will they be damaged? I don't want to worry about I don't want to be searching for gear for too long, so I kind of need like audio things to be in a bag or some kind of storage. I want lighting to be here, and I want camera accessories and all the different bits and parts that goes into a great video production. So that was a little bit of my me sharing what I acquired in 2024. At least some of the stuff that I really loved. Obviously, I don't think the process ever ends. You can be in a place where your gear is serving your needs and you don't really need anything, but you still have that urge to buy something new. I don't think I'm in that place. I'm currently in the place where there are some drawbacks to the current things I have, and there's a solution out there. I just can't yet afford it. And so that's where I'm at, and that's where I am currently hoping to solve some of those issues in 2025. So that was it for today. If you like the video, there's a button down there. It's called it looks like a thumbs up, so you can go ahead and click that button. If you like this kind of content, I would encourage you to subscribe. I'm not necessarily a gear review type of person. I'm a working DP. I'm a working videographer, and so most of my videos are probably going to be behind the scenes vlogs. I will have these occasional talking head videos where I'm sharing either gear reviews or I'm sharing mindset about the industry and my career so far. I am planning to do some videos on earnings, you know, as the months go ahead. But again, if you're into that kind of stuff, I would encourage you to subscribe. I've mentioned this a couple times, but my main inspiration are a lot of those working DPs out there. And I loved the term that David Moorfield coined, the working class of YouTube, because there are videographers out there who, or there are YouTubers out there who are not necessarily full-time videographers or full-time DPs. And so they'll review gears and we don't, I mean, yeah, it sounds good, but does it work in the real world? Or are they solving issues in the real world? Some of them are, some of them are not. And so I love this kind of direction that some of these DPs are taking, where they're documenting their process behind the scenes. They're sharing how they're solving issues, their mindset behind purchasing gear, their mindset behind renting gear, their mindset behind doing their job. And so a huge shout out to David Moorfield, to Cranky Cameraman, to Peter Mokry, to Jared Phelps, to Colin. There's tons of other guys out there that I probably subscribe to all the vloggers, the DP vloggers out there. But those are the ones that I probably see the most content from most consistently. I'm trying to join them in that movement of being consistent with videos. Mike Perez as well. Love that guy, and Story King Studio. The work that they do has very much inspired me. And so, anyways, enough of my ranting. That was it, guys. See you soon.